Hey, welcome to Daily Devo. My name is Diana, and today we're talking about things that pull us away. Hey, you know that popular 1970s song that goes something like this? I wish that I knew what I know now when I was younger, right? This fun song that talks all about what if we had the wisdom of today back a few years ago when we were younger. That's basically what today's Proverbs is all about. It's saying, hey, I want you to pay attention to something today that is helpful for you. And it's almost like I'm giving you the wisdom that you're going to figure out down the road. Let me just give it to you today to be helpful. So check this out. In verse 1 of chapter 5, it says, pay attention to my wisdom. Listen well to my words of insight, that you may maintain discretion and your lips may preserve knowledge. So essentially what this Proverbs is telling us, it's like a friendly heads up that says, hey, I want to caution you against something. I want to give you some insight that you probably would figure out the hard way down the road. But if you pay attention to it today, it's going to be very helpful for your life. And here's what it says. If we jump down to verse 11, it's like somebody hit the fast forward button, and the proverb is going to say, if you do not pay attention to what I'm telling you today, there is going to be some heartache and some destruction and some regret in your future. It's like he exposes what will happen if we don't listen. Take a listen. He says in verse 11, he says, at the end of your life, you will groan. When your flesh and body are spent, you will say, how I hated discipline, how my heart spurned correction. I would not obey my teachers or listen to my instructors. I have come to the brink of utter ruin. You see, let's pay attention to what this proverb has to say, because if we don't, we will regret it down the road. And here's what it says. Let's finally get to it. Proverbs chapter 5, starting in verse 3, it's talking about, it says, the lips of an adulteress drip honey. Verse 8, it says, keep a path far from her. Do not go near her house. Verse 15, drink water from your own cistern, running water from your own well. So really what it's saying is don't linger near the temptation that's trying to pull you away from God's best and what you know is right. It's really that simple in this Proverbs. And for you, it might be that somebody other than your spouse, you want to give your attention and your heart to, and maybe even spend time with them. But for others of us, it might be this temptation to be critical and judgmental. Or maybe for you, it's this temptation to avoid this deadline that you know is coming, and you keep trying to avoid it as much as possible and not put in the work. I don't know what that temptation is for you, but we all have temptations that try to pull us away. And this proverb is trying to help us and say, hey, I want you to set a boundary. Don't even go near the very thing that seems enticing to you today. And what this Proverbs is not saying is, it is not saying that adultery is always the woman's fault. Not at all. That's not what it's saying. What it's saying is there are things in this world that try to pull us away from God's best, and they lure us in. It's people, it's ideas, it's habits, it's choices. And what if you and I heeded the wisdom of Proverbs 5 and we put a boundary in place? So what might that boundary look like for you today? Maybe it looks like you need to unfollow a few accounts on social media. Maybe for you, you need to delete Facebook Messenger because you're entering into conversations that are not healthy or productive. Maybe for you, it's the courageous step where you need to tell a safe and trusted friend, hey, here's what's tempting my imagination. Here's what I'm tempted to be pulled into. And you need to spend some time praying together. And maybe you just need to tell God and admit it to yourself first. God, this is tempting, because we serve a good God who draws near to his kids, and he wants to help us and listen to us. So today, let's pay attention to the pull of temptation, and let's realize that if we heed the warning, it's not worth it. Let's stay where God's asked us to stay and what he's provided us. Have a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow.